Have you ever stayed awake at 2 in the morning, staring at your phone, waiting for a message that never came? And when it finally did, it was so short, so cold, that it made your chest tighten as if someone pressed down on it with invisible hands. Have you ever whispered to yourself, maybe I'm the problem? Maybe I'm asking for too much? If you've been there, then you know how loneliness can exist even inside a relationship. We grow up believing that love, friendship, or even the so-called family-like workplace should be safe. We are taught that relationships are the place where we rest. But sometimes, the very people closest to us are the ones who drain us the most. And the hardest part? Most of the time, we don't even realize it while it's happening, because the human brain is an excellent storyteller. It explains pain away with phrases like, "It's just stress," "They didn't mean it," or "I'm probably overreacting." Those phrases give us temporary comfort, but they also delay necessary change. Think about the ordinary moments of life. You come home excited because you finally got praised at work. You tell your partner expecting a smile. Instead, they shrug and say, "It's not a big deal." You feel the excitement collapse in your chest. Or picture being in the office. Your boss says, "We're like family here," but then texts you at midnight about a spreadsheet, and when you don't respond, you wake up to a message that says, "We need to discuss your commitment." Or think about that one friend. They call you when they need to unload their pain. They pour it all out, and when you're struggling, they disappear. You try not to keep score, but somehow the math keeps writing itself in your body. You feel heavier after talking to them, not lighter. We brush these moments off. We say, "It's just how they are," or "Maybe I'm too sensitive." But those moments pile up. They're not small annoyances, they're cracks in the foundation of your well-being. And if the basement keeps flooding, it doesn't matter how pretty the wallpaper is upstairs. The house will eventually tilt. Psychologists have studied these dynamics for decades. The Gottman Institute, after years of observing thousands of couples, identified 4 behaviors so corrosive they called them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. When those show up consistently, they are powerful predictors of breakup. Imagine a doctor telling you that continuing a habit raises your risk dramatically. You would take it seriously. In relationships, these 4 habits are that warning label. And this isn't just about romance. The American Psychological Association summarized research showing that workers with unsupportive managers have a much higher risk of anxiety and depression. The pattern holds across industries and ages. When the relational climate is harsh, mental health declines. And then there's the Harvard study of adult development, the longest study of happiness ever conducted. For more than 8 decades, researchers followed people's lives, health, relationships, and careers. The conclusion is quiet and profound. The single strongest predictor of long-term well-being is the quality of your relationships. Not money, not status, not fame. The people around you, how they love you, how they listen to you, how you repair when you hurt each other, shape your health and your happiness. So when I say relationships shape not just your emotions but your biology, I'm not exaggerating. A painful relationship doesn't just sting, it remodels the nervous system. Chronic conflict keeps the body's stress response elevated. Cortisol rises, sleep fragments, concentration wobbles. Over time, the immune system gets noisier in some places and quieter in others. which is a fancy way of saying your body becomes less efficient at both defending and repairing. In one striking experiment, couples in high-conflict marriages healed more slowly from tiny, standardized skin wounds. Their bodies literally took longer to knit tissue back together. That's how far the impact goes. But here's the tricky part. Unhealthy relationships rarely announce themselves with sirens. They whisper. They show up in small dismissals, in rolling eyes, in jokes that aren't really jokes. They appear in the way you shrink, the way you silence yourself, the way you begin to believe that your needs are too much. It's like swimming in polluted water. A fish doesn't notice dirty water right away. Over time, the toxins seep in, weaken the body, and eventually suffocate it. Relationships are our water. If the water is poisoned, even the strongest swimmer will drown. So let's name some signs that the water is getting cloudy. You stop sharing your feelings because you know they'll be dismissed. You find yourself walking on eggshells, calculating every word to avoid anger. You notice that one person keeps giving and the other keeps taking. You start doubting your memory because the other person twists your words until you question what's real. That's gaslighting. It moves the furniture in your mind. Or you notice your world shrinking because they've cut you off from friends, family, or your own hobbies. These aren't quirks. These are alarms. Even people at the top of their fields aren't immune. Rihanna once said, "It's only when I love myself enough that I can walk away from a relationship that doesn't honor me." Steve Jobs, late in life, reflected that in the end, what matters most is the quality of your relationships. When people who have achieved almost everything point back to relationships as the ultimate measure, we should listen. Success without safety still feels like failure. What can you actually do when you notice these patterns? Change doesn't have to begin with fireworks. It can begin with naming. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman popularized a simple truth. What you name, you can tame. The next time you feel your reality being twisted, pause and say to yourself, "This is gaslighting, not truth." The sentence looks small, but it is a handrail on a staircase in the dark. It won't fix the building, but it will keep you from falling while you find the exit. The second step is boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are property lines. A wall shouts, "Keep out." A boundary says, "Here's what I'm responsible for, and here's what I'm not." Boundaries are also muscles. You build them with tiny reps. Start with the easy weights. Don't reply to midnight texts until morning. Put your phone in another room for the first and last 15 minutes of your day. Take 10 minutes daily that belong only to you. No phone, no partner, no boss, no scrolling. These small acts are like recalibrating your internal compass. They point you back to yourself. But I want to be brutally honest. Staying in a toxic relationship is not neutral. It is dangerous. Chronic relational stress is not just a mood, it is a physiological load. While different studies estimate risks differently, the overall picture is sobering. Poor social relationships and ongoing conflict are associated with significantly higher risks of depression, anxiety, cardiovascular problems, and earlier mortality. You would not knowingly drink from a glass with a crack running through it. Why keep drinking from a relationship that slices your mouth a little more each day? Now, not every conflict means doom. If your partner eats the last slice of pizza, that's not gaslighting. That's a small domestic tragedy with an easy repair. If your coworker writes LOL instead of haha, maybe don't call HR yet. Humor matters. Laughter isn't avoidance. It's a pressure valve. Healthy relationships aren't about never fighting. They're about fighting fair and repairing fast. The Gottman research suggests a simple ratio as a compass. Couples who thrive tend to have about 5 positive interactions for every negative one during conflict. You don't have to count out loud, but you can feel the difference. In good relationships, the balance tilts toward kindness even when you disagree. Let's talk about repair, because it's the unglamorous center of love. Repair is the moment someone says, "I'm sorry, I missed you there. Can we try again?" It's the text after a hard meeting. "I got defensive. Here's what I actually meant." It's the touch on the shoulder that says, "I'm on your side even if I'm mad." Repair isn't a magic spell that erases pain. It is a bridge that lets you carry pain together without dropping the relationship into the river. People who are good at repair don't avoid conflict. They trust that we can find each other again after it. And here is the hope I want to offer you. Healthy relationships don't just prevent harm. They actively heal. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, lowers cortisol, softens the body's stress response, and helps your nervous system feel safe. In laboratory settings, warm, sustained contact, like a genuine hug, can increase oxytocin. You don't need a lab to prove what your body already knows. When someone who loves you holds you with steady arms, your breathing changes. Your guard relaxes. Safety is medicine disguised as an embrace. So what are the ingredients of relationships that help us heal rather than harm? Respect is the first. Respect doesn't mean agreement on everything. It means honoring differences without belittling them. Curiosity is part of respect. "Tell me more" is often the most loving sentence in any language. The second ingredient is responsibility. Not blame, not the courtroom energy of who started it, but accountability. Here's my part. Here's what I can change. The third is repair, practiced frequently and quickly. And the fourth is resilience. Resilience means we understand that stress happens, that storms come, and that we are a team standing on the same side of the rope, pulling together. Let me offer you a metaphor to carry this. Imagine every relationship as a room with a thermostat. In some rooms, the thermostat is broken. No matter how much warmth you pour in, the temperature never rises. You keep giving praise, time, apologies, and the room stays cold. Healthy relationships have thermostats that work. When one person turns toward the other, the room warms for both. If you keep pouring warmth into a room and it never changes, the problem is not your generosity. It is the broken thermostat. And sometimes the kindest, bravest thing you can do is to stop standing in the cold and find a room where warmth is possible. I want to talk to those of you who feel stuck because of history. Maybe you say, "We've been together for 10 years," or "This is my childhood friend," or "I've worked here since the beginning." History matters, but history is not a hostage taker. A long road in the wrong direction doesn't make the destination right. The best time to turn around is the first mile. The second best time is this exact minute. The map of your future is not obligated to follow the ruts of your past. I also want to speak to the fear of being alone. Many of us stay because the unknown is terrifying. But loneliness isn't only the absence of people. It is the absence of safety among people. I have sat with individuals who were technically surrounded. Busy offices, big families, packed social calendars, who felt bone-deep alone because they were unseen where it mattered. Your nervous system can tell the difference between company and connection. If you've ever cried in a room full of friends and felt like no one noticed, you know this truth. The solution to that kind of loneliness is not more bodies. It is braver boundaries and better rooms. How do we practice this braver living in tiny, doable ways? Try a daily check-in with yourself before you check in with the world. Close your eyes for 60 seconds each morning and ask, what do I need today to feel like myself? Maybe the answer is a slow lunch away from my screen, or a walk without podcasts, or 5 honest minutes with my partner after dinner. Write it down. Protect it like you would protect a meeting with your boss. When you keep the promises you make to yourself, your sense of self-trust grows, and with it, your courage to ask for better from others. In conversations, practice the difference between clarity and collapse. Clarity is steady. It sounds like, I want to hear you, and I also want to finish my thought. Collapse is what happens when you abandon your point because someone sighs, rolls their eyes, or raises their voice. The first is an adult boundary. The second is self-abandonment disguised as peace. Peace purchased with self-betrayal is expensive and doesn't last. If you lead a team, remember that workplaces are relationship ecosystems. People don't do their best work in climates of fear. Psychological safety, the sense that you can speak up without being punished or humiliated, is not a luxury. It is the bedrock of creativity. The most productive teams are not the ones without conflict. They are the ones where conflict is handled with respect and curiosity. Help me understand your constraint will take your team farther than, why didn't you do what I said? If you're a friend, become the person who can both celebrate and sit in silence. Some people only know how to arrive for birthdays. Real friends can also arrive for quiet Tuesdays, when nothing is fixed yet. Ask better questions. What part of this feels the hardest? Opens a door. Here's what I would do. Slammed too early, closes it. Listening is an act of service, and sometimes an act of restraint. Let's return to romantic love for a moment, because that's where many of our deepest patterns show up. Attachment science suggests that our earliest experiences teach us what love feels like, and those lessons echo in adulthood. If love felt unpredictable, we might chase emotional fireworks and call it chemistry. If love felt conditional, we might overperform in relationships and call it dedication. None of this means we are doomed to repeat. It means our nervous system is doing what it learned. The work is to relearn, with partners who can practice secure connection, consistent presence, honest repair, and mutual respect. How do you know you're healing? You will notice more quiet in your mind after hard conversations. You will recover faster from misunderstandings. You will be able to say, I need a pause, without fear of punishment. You will find yourself reaching for curiosity more quickly than for contempt. And perhaps most tenderly, you will discover that your body feels more at home in rooms where you are allowed to be fully yourself. I promised a little humor because heavy work needs light. So here it is. If your partner eats your fries without asking, it is not a federal crime. It is a teachable moment about boundaries, and perhaps an opportunity to order a second basket. If your colleague writes, per my last email. Remember that translation software confirms it means I'm begging you to read the thing I already sent. Laughter won't solve everything, but it can keep your nervous system from locking into all or nothing thinking. A flexible mind loves better. Let me give you 2 micro practices you can start tonight. First, the 2% pivot. When a recurring argument flares, ask, what small 2% could I change right now that would move us forward? Not 50%. 2. Maybe it's, I'll lower my voice, or I'll summarize what I heard before I respond. Tiny pivots accumulate into new paths. Second, the repair ritual. After any tough conversation, initiate a brief ritual. A sentence of appreciation, a minute of eye contact, or a short walk together. Rituals give your nervous systems a predictable way to return to calm. They don't erase disagreement. They help both of you find the floor again. Some of you are wondering, when is it time to leave? I cannot answer that for you, but I can offer a compass. When the pursuit of repair becomes one-sided for too long, when respect is consistently absent, when isolation and fear grow month after month, your nervous system is telling you that the cost exceeds the benefit. Leaving is not a failure of love. Sometimes it is love's fulfillment. The love you extend to yourself, the love you preserve in your future. You are allowed to stop auditioning where you have already been cast aside. If you do leave, remember that grief is not proof you made the wrong choice. Grief is the tax the heart pays on any change worth making. Give yourself time. Build a circle that holds you through the wobble. Friends who remind you of the facts when nostalgia edits the past. Routines that protect your body when your mind is tired. And professionals, therapists, coaches, support groups who can help you organize the chaos into something you can carry. And if you stay with intention. Ask for a reset conversation. Put the problems on the table and stand on the same side of the table together. Name what each of you will try for the next 30 days. Make the goals behavioral and observable. I will stop checking my phone at dinner. I will share one appreciation nightly. I will ask before offering solutions. Then measure honestly. If progress shows up, even clumsy, imperfect progress, celebrate it. If it doesn't, listen to what that silence is saying. Before we close, I want you to imagine a future morning. You wake up, and the first sensation isn't dread, it's steadiness. You turn and look at the person next to you, or at the quiet space that is yours, and your body doesn't brace. You make coffee without rushing. Your phone is not a judge. When you speak, your words are not weighed on a scale. They are received like gifts to be unwrapped. That future is not a fantasy. It is the natural byproduct of clean water, working thermostats, intact boundaries, and brave repair. So here is the final invitation. Think of one relationship that matters to you, romantic, familial, friendship, or work. Ask yourself 3 questions tonight. What is one truth I have been avoiding saying out loud? What is one boundary I can set that is small enough to do and big enough to matter? And what is one act of repair I can initiate without waiting to be asked? Write your answers. Then, as kindly as possible, practice them. Not all at once, in sequence, in real life, in the next week, not the next year. Because in the end, the science and the stories agree. Relationships can either kill us or heal us. They can suffocate or they can steady. They can shrink us or they can make room for our full size. The choice is not simple and it is not painless, but it is yours. And when you choose safety, respect, repair, and resilience, even in small, ordinary, unglamorous ways, you are not just improving a relationship, you are rebuilding a nervous system. You are lengthening a life. You are making a home worthy of the person who lives there. You.